Welcome to Mirror Domains Movie News, your place for entertainment headlines, and indeed, this is a live news show for movie fans, where we talk about all the trending movie news headlines of the day, including Exorcist Believer becoming a box office smash? I don't know, but it came into the #1 spot. We'll talk about the weekend's box office report for sure. We'll talk about that Pet Sematary Prequel, Bloodlines. There's a big interview up with the director. We'll talk about that. We got some Fantastic Four updates. What's going on with the MCU Skrulls? Yeah. And Del Toro directing a Star Wars movie. Cool, man. And we're learning a little bit more about Denzel Washington's character in Gladiator 2. So we'll be taking a look at that. And yeah. Cool, man. As I said, this is a live show. So let me turn on the chat and we'll get underway. My bad. Sorry. Pfeiffer says, hey, did you totally see? I loved it. No, I haven't seen Totally Killer yet. By the time I was done my thanks. Oh, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Today's Thanksgiving. So, enjoy your turkey. I had fun last night. I, had all the friends over and family, and yeah, we had a big feast. So I hope you guys enjoy your day today as well. That being said, let's talk about the Exorcist Trilogy. What's going on with that? The Exorcist Believer filmmaker David Gordon Green talks Taylor Swift, Tea Time, and what he's directing next. Now, our understanding was that when Jason Blum bought the Exorcist franchise, it was for only 3 installments. He got the rights for 3 installments, and him and David Gordon Green had, I guess, thought about it as a trilogy, and I guess David Gordon Green wrote a treatment for what it was all going to be. And I was reflecting upon that while I thought about it over the weekend, because I posted my review and everything. That's up on the channel now. I don't know where it's going. So it's kind of like, what kind of trilogy is going on out there? And yes, my review is up there on the channel right now. You can go check that out. I was harsh on it, but not as critical as some of the other critics. So it did come in #1 at the box office. But if you go over to Hollywood Reporter and you start looking at some of this stuff, let's just get down to the brass tacks here. Where is this going? Is he going to be directing the next one? I don't think so, guys. I think Jason Blum has to take all of this into account. And if you look, one of the main themes throughout all the reviews that I've seen, and other people believe, there's a consensus, this material's not for David Gordon Green. He doesn't know. And he almost practically admits that in this review here, or in this long interview here. He talks about moving it from Friday the 13th. Originally, it was supposed to come out the Friday the 13th because Taylor Swift's big movie is coming out this weekend, which I am seeing at 4 p.m. on Friday. They moved it ahead a week, which is for the better because it would have gotten buried. That's all you need to know about the Taylor Swift quote. But he had to go on to talk about Halloween Trilogy, but the one that I wanted to talk about was we lost William Friedkin recently, and William Friedkin had not nice things to say about David Gordon Green. So I'm surprised that he even acknowledged that. He says, I haven't connected to him with this movie. So he was being a little bit diplomatic there. He says here, this is what caught me. The Star Wars sequel trilogy received a lot of criticism for not having a detailed plan for all 3 movies. And then they try to make excuses for it and stuff. But so now that you've completed one trilogy and have embarked on this one, how pre-planned do you think a trilogy should be at this rate? And he responded by saying this. Well, you're talking to the least rigid filmmaker in town. Every time I have a plan, it's just a matter of stepping confidently into that arena. And then it's about intuition, improvisation, opportunity, and these things will come to light. Well, and that's accented by what happened on Halloween with Halloween Ends, because Halloween Kills was to was supposed to go directly right into Halloween Ends. It was like it was supposed to pick up the day after. And then for some reason, somewhere along the lines, they wanted to postpone that for years, to have the big, huge year gap between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Because Halloween Ends was supposed to end with Laurie Strode picking up the phone saying, "I'm coming for you, Michael." And that was supposed to be like the catalyst of what was driving Halloween Ends. But then somehow this other story got shoehorned in with this other guy that wants to be a killer as well. And it's kind of like, oh, yeah. It's just like he made things up on the fly. And I don't know why Jason Blum would like that. I understand about being, open to ideas. But it's that kind of thinking that kind of like, well, guys, you had this plan. So what you're telling me is that, okay, you've got an idea for this Exorcist trilogy and you've got a plan for 1 and 2, but if you've got a better idea by the time the third one comes around, you'll just scrap everything and throw it out the door. That's what you did, David Gordon Green, with the Halloween Ends movie. Um, I don't know where this would go. Like, it doesn't seem like, why wouldn't, yeah, like, why wouldn't you have some idea of where it would go in a trilogy? And we talked about that in my writing exercise video last week about where my Friday the 13th franchise would go, right? Because I laid out a grid line for a movie in that, and we may do that again later on today, guys. And we might talk about what I would have done with the Exorcist movie, and you'll see that, knowing that I'm getting the mandate that it's a trilogy. David Gordon Green says in here that he wrote out a treatment or an outline for what the next 2 movies would be about. And Jason Blum says that, yeah, Exorcist Deceiver is going to come out 2025. I think despite what it did at the box office, we're still going to see a sequel to this, Exorcist Deceiver. But I don't think it would be a good idea if you had David Gordon Green attached to it. This movie, Exorcist Believer, just didn't make a whole lot of sense when you actually stopped to think about it. And it was kind of like, well, yeah, what is the devil's endgame? Is this even connected to the same devil that possessed Reagan? Or what the heck's going on, man? It's kind of like, yeah, you have no idea what the hell you're doing, do you? So yeah, that's the only thing that really resonated with David Gordon Green there. It's time for you to go back and do things like Pineapple Express, because it seems like that was well received by people. Horror doesn't seem to be your bag. What made Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends thrive at the box office was not you and your ability to tell stories. It was the franchise, and it was Michael Myers. Michael Myers will get butts in seats no matter what, right? You guys got lucky. And us fans, movie fans, are catching on to David Gordon Green's bag. And bag of tricks, I mean, guys. Come on. Keep your mind out of the gutters there, please. And your skill set is not that impressive. It's not, and it shows. And everybody's calling you out on that. So I get it. There will be probably a sequel, despite how badly it did at the box office. But David Gordon Green just doesn't seem to be the person to usher that in. Okay, so as I said, let's talk about the weekend's box office. Exorcist box office believer delivers 27.2 million before Taylor Swift storm arrives. Yes. So let's go over and take a look at the numbers for the weekend of October 6th to the October 8th. The top 5 were: number 1, The Exorcist Believer; number 2, Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie; number 3, Saw 10; number 4, The Creator; and number 5, The Blind. So Exorcist Believer in the number 1 spot with 27.2 million domestically, 17.8 internationally, and 45 million worldwide. So is that good enough? Is it good enough? What was the budget? The budget was around 30 million. So it has crossed over the break-even line, sort of, because you got to think of what theaters hall is going to be. You got to think about what the marketing was. So I would say it's got to make around 60 million, 65 million to cross over. 45 million worldwide for its opening weekend is going to put it in position to be profitable. I don't expect this to come up to 100 million, though. I don't. Um, because, as I said, the reception to this movie by critics has been harsh. And the audience, I don't know many people coming out of this saying that they liked it, saying that, oh, this is what I want to see more of. Everybody seems to say that Leslie Odom Jr. did a great job in this, and he did. But it's kind of like, what's going on here? What are you establishing, right? For a trilogy, and you're left grasping for straws. So somebody who did like it said, while the elegantly crafted head swiveling sequel fails to reach new heights, see, even in the good one, they said fails. It delivers on suspense and jump scares. Well, that's all it relies on is jump scares. But even jump scares like that can startle you. Does that mean that you're? I'm scared. I'm gonna go home and sweat because James made a loud slapping noise. It's like, no. Uplifted by returning original cast member Ellen Burstyn. And why was it connected to the original? Right? Why was it? And we'll talk about that if we do my writing session tonight. And I think I am, because I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, I got stuff to say, and I think I could probably make a better script for Exorcist Believer, and I'll outline where it would go in the sequels. So that's maybe what we'll do tonight. We'll write a treatment for what my sequel to Exorcist would have been. And you know what? I would have included lore from what was happening in Exorcist 3 as well. I would have given like an Easter egg to the Gemini killer. I would have. So somebody who didn't like it just outright said, David Gordon Green needs to be stopped. And that goes back to our opening headline about him trying to plan out a trilogy and stuff like that. That sentiment is echoed not by just me, but by a bunch of people as well. The power of Christ compels you to not see this direct sequel to The Exorcist. Oh, I like that one. That one's fun. 3C Films. Oh, yeah. A rival within our movie punditry space. While the first half is pretty strong, it starts off to fall off once it becomes a legacy sequel, forcing a connection to the original. The film tackles some cool ideas, but never fully fleshes them out. Yeah, and it becomes hokey towards the end. It just kind of makes you feel like, well, you're doing what? What? Why? No, that's awful. Why stop that? This kind of thing. It's like, um, yeah, this all becomes. While this was an interesting idea to have like people of different faiths and stuff, it just. I felt like you could practically see, you could feel that they were on the set, and just over here behind this wall was like a bunch of crewmen with gaffers and grips, kind of like waiting for their marks. It's kind of like, that's what it felt like watching it. So Leslie Odom Jr. And I heard people saying that they didn't like his character either. Yeah, they tried to do a revelation about his character towards the end that was interesting. It just wasn't well executed. It was kind of like, oh, and by the way, this happened in the past, not what. It was like, it didn't feel earned, but it was noble. Can we talk about that spoiler-ish right now? Okay, yeah, basically, the movie opens with his pregnant wife, and there's like a big earthquake and stuff, and you uh, see a scene where a doctor comes up to him after she gets pulled out of the rubble, and the doctor's like, "We, she's so badly injured, we can either save her or the kid." And then, of course, it flashes forward, and we see that the kid's there. We all assumed that the choice was to save the kid because that's what parents do, right? We find out later on that he wanted to save the mother, and that is an interesting story. That's a good concept. That's something that should not be thread in just as a little accent towards the end. That's emotional backbone kind of thing that if you had it more infused into the story, you got more gravitas in there for people to latch onto instead of it kind of being a thing of kind of like that's what you're gonna feel at the end. Anyway, I'm ragging on Exorcist Believer here, but I think it's earned anyway. 22% by critics. It's I don't see how Jason Blum looks at this, despite it being moneymaker. That's on the name itself, guys. But I think it's going to have a very steep drop off, very steep. I think it's going to drop down to like 7 million next week because obviously Taylor Swift's Eras Tour movie is going to be #1. And then I think it's going to be Paw Patrol. And then I think it's going to be Saw 10. That's still going to have word of mouth. Or maybe Exorcist Believer will be third. I don't know. But Saw 10, guys, out of those two, go see Saw 10. Go see Saw 10. Speaking about Saw 10, let's just we don't need to look at Paw Patrol, guys. It's a kids movie. It's done fine. It's going to be fine. Saw 10 for 43.8 million worldwide on a budget of 13 million, guys. Saw 10 had a budget of 13 million, so it's already in the profit range, and that's awesome. That's really awesome. Saw 10 script page reveals major Jigsaw franchise flashback scene cut from sequel. Nah, I tried to look this in. This is sort of spoilers too, but it's been out for a couple of weeks now. So I guess there was a scene with some piranha or something where he was setting up a trap with some piranha that was supposed to tie over into Saw 6. A cutscene from Saw 10 would have directly showcased. Let me just pause this. Showcased. I said pause. Showcased how the newest movie used established plot points from Saw 6 to fit into the franchise's timeline. Saw 6 and Saw 10 are connected thematically as both involve John's taking revenge against those who took advantage of his cancer diagnosis. Stolberg's revelation helps to tie elements of the franchise together. So yeah, there's an element in there about piranha. We're inside a fish tank filled with piranha as a head bows down and peers inside. It's John Kramer, this time on the dry side of the glass, and more than 10 years ago, we pushed through the glass to hear John say, piranha. Yeah. So there were some other Easter eggs in there and stuff. But Saw 10, yeah, that's good for its second week. 8 million. And that's good word of mouth, right? What's the creator doing there? 6 million this week. That comes in the fourth spot, 61 million, and that had a higher budget, right? That had about an $80 million budget. I think the creator is going to have some staying power, though. I hope it hangs in the top 5 for at least the next couple weeks. But this week we got Taylor Swift, and then the weekend after that we've got Killers of the Flower Moon coming out. So it's going to be a rough, bumpy ride for the creator. It's not going to be profitable. I think the creator is not going to be a profitable movie when all said is done. When all is said and done, I think that sucks because I think it is one of the better movies of the year, visually, not story wise, but visually. It's one of the accomplishments that I think you got to go check it out. The story there's enough story in there to make you go, yeah. It was a bit long. The length of the movie really hurt it. 2 hours and 13 minutes. If it was an hour and 40 minutes, I think it would have been a little bit tighter. Like cut out half an hour of it. I still think that there would have been enough there to have a cohesive story that would have made you go, yeah, no, now that's cool. A lot of world building. It was just cool to see with the budget that they had, how much they were able to accomplish. And the acting was good. The acting was good. So I have high hopes, but we're just going to have to accept that the creator's not going to be the hit that it should have been. So the rounding out the number 5 spot was The Blind. That's that faith-based movie about that televangelist preacher as a young man or something like that. We don't need to pay attention to that. That's not our bag here. Hocus Pocus got re-released in the 10th spot, 1.5 million. She Came to Me was that movie that I wanted to go see in the Art House Theater. I forgot that. I just don't have to. Maybe I got time late. No, I don't have time today. Or maybe I do. I don't know. 360,000. This is Peter Dinklage, where he's like a writer of uh, operas, right? And he finds a muse in Marissa Tomei as a dock worker or tugboat captain or something. They've got a passionate affair. I thought it looked fun, and I do want to check it out. So I think that's pretty much all we need to know from the box office. Dix the Musical, 7 theaters. That'll get wider release next week, I think. The Royal Hotel. Oh yeah, that's that movie with that girl. U.S. backpackers. Take a job in a remote Australian pub for some extra cash and are confronted with a bunch of unruly locals in a situation that grows rapidly out of their control. When Evil Lurks. In a remote village, 2 brothers find a demon-infected man just about to give birth to evil itself. They decide to get rid of the man, but merely succeed in spreading the chaos. When Evil Lurks, huh? How come I didn't, it sounds, why didn't I catch wind of this? Where's this playing? Original. Oh, is it Spanish? Releases October 27th. Okay. So it'll have a wider release October 27th. I must have watched the trailer for this. When Evil Lurks. Let's just When Evil Lurks. Oh yeah, no, that looks vaguely familiar. Like intro to the Texas Chainsaw. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I saw this where the goat. Yeah, remember the man sees like a weird goat in the pen, and then as he goes to shoot it, the pregnant woman behind him. Yeah, I think we must have looked at this trailer at some point. It does. This does ring a bell now. When Evil Lurks. Um, ooh, somebody swallow some ink. When Evil Lurks. Fascinating. Seen this at TIFF. It's honestly spectacular. I've seen a lot of horror films. Okay, Silver Cruz says. Hands down the best horror film of 2023. Well, I don't get that impression from just this, but I do want to check it out. Yeah, When Evil Lurks. So that had a limited release of 659 theaters. I'll check that out towards the end of. Whoops, sorry guys. I'll check that out towards the end of October. Mr. Organ Cat Person. That's pretty much what you need to know from the box office, guys. Speaking of which, there are all my other social media handles you guys can follow. We follow games on Twitch. We may have to do Tomb Raider earlier than Thursday this week because Thursday's a big day here on the channel. Thursday and Fridays are going to be big, where we're going to be streaming quite a bit on Thursday and Fridays because Fall of the House of Usher is dropping on Thursday. And Fall of the House of Usher is Mike Flanagan's next opus. Get that bra thing out of here. Sorry. Fall of the House of Usher, October 12th. And it's dropping all in one big batch, guys. So we're going to have to burn through 8 episodes of this. And I'm hyped. Carla Gugino, Mary McDonnell, Henry Thomas, Kate Siegel, big cast. Katie Parker, Mark Hamill. There's Carla. There's Mark Hamill. I don't know if he's in like an investigator or something like that. But it looks uh, like it's got a huge stellar cast, and it's got all the favorites from Mike Flanagan's repertoire of actors that he brings in. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's like a mix between of the cast returning. It's like you got people from Haunted House of Haunted Hill and Bly Manor mixed together with Midnight Mass, all his favorites. So it's going to be awesome, I think. So come join us on Thursday for that. I'm going to post maybe in the community tab what our schedule is going to be for Thursday, because we also have to watch Survivor Thursday morning. Survivor will be around 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. And Hell's Kitchen will also be 9 a.m. on Friday morning, because it'll all be Fall of House of Usher for the rest of those days. So I'll try to post that schedule. We're going to try to get through 4 episodes a day, I guess. But on top of that, we got a 90-minute episode of Survivor and a 40-minute episode of Hell's Kitchen. So it's going to be kind of like, it's a lot of material. It's going to be a busy day for us. So you better have your coffee and your tea or whatever ready to rock and roll. Busy day, but I look forward to it, and it'll be worthwhile for sure. Arglass says, better get my step count up before Thursday streaming. Yeah, love how Mark Hamill is wearing a black glove. Yeah, I didn't catch that one. That was cool. Blank Flanagan knows what he was doing when he did that too, right? He knew that, except it was his other hand that got cut off. I'm sure that's just because he's looking at a crime scene. Um, Luke had his other hand cut off, his right hand, right? Yeah. Um, so Fall of House of Usher this Thursday and Friday, guys. Big week. Uh, Taylor Swift's Eras Tour comes out on Friday too, so I'll be busy. Guys, I don't know if I'll be able to do it all in Thursday and Friday. If we have to leave like 2 episodes for Saturday morning, then that's the way we'll do it as well. If we have to stretch it over 3 days, as I said, I'll hammer out the schedule and put it up in the community tab later on today, because Taylor Swift's movie is like 3 hours too. It's a lot of sitting for me for those 2 days. But hey, what else can you find on the channel? We got the Exorcist Believer up on movie review. That's up on the channel. We got Pet Cemetery Bloodlines review is up on the channel as well. A movie called Nowhere, a Netflix movie, is up on there as well. We're watching Survivor, so episode 3 will be on Thursday. We'll keep it there on Thursday, and then episode 3 of Hell's Kitchen will be on Friday. We've wrapped up Ahsoka, so if you are a fan of the Ahsoka series, go check that out. We watched a full movie last week called The Wishmaster. Yeah, and my reviews for Creator and Saw 10 are up, and then of course, we do movie news. So busy week, guys, busy week. All right, let's talk about that Pet Cemetery sequel, or prequel it was, right? Pet Cemetery Bloodlines. I have my full review up on the channel, as you've seen, but filmmaker Lindsay Anderson Beer talks her prequel to Stephen King's classic novel and Tarantino's Star Trek. Unfortunately, guys, it was the directing that really let down Pet Cemetery Bloodlines. And I talked about that in my review. It was just the way that the action was cut together. It just didn't feel natural, and the pacing was off. And the execution of the story just didn't seem to be there. But Lindsay Anderson Beer did give some interesting quotes here in this article that did catch my eye. Because one of the things I am always worried about when somebody comes into a franchise, a well-established franchise like the MCU or even Halloween or Pet Cemetery, is that did those people actually do their research? Did um, did they actually go back and learn it? Because you've heard the horror stories from the MCU where the people that made Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness never watched a single episode of WandaVision. It's like, well, how is that possible? They watched it afterwards, after they filmed things. And it's like, No, I want to know if they haven't filmed WandaVision yet. I want to read the script so I have got a good idea. But it seems from this that at least Lindsay Anderson Beer did do her research. I was actually not trying to tailor it to the 2019 film. In my head, it's a prequel to the book, she said. I was trying to do my own thing, and the book, to me, is what scared me. I just treated it like my North Star. She goes on to say that she read the book like close to 30 times or something. So that's what caught my eye. So at least she did. Gender is a huge factor without question, but I've heard so many stories of now prominent filmmakers. What does gender have to do with it? Yeah, get that out of here. We're trying to talk about movies. She goes on to talk about Tarantino. Don't really care about that. Uh, I guess she used Tarantino as some kind of a muse. God, she went on for a long time talking about Tarantino and Transformers for some reason. Uh, and she goes on to talk about big movies and why they're so difficult to crack. She acknowledges that some films are made by committee, by the executive boardrooms handing down notes and stuff. So this is what caught my eye. As a fan of King's book, how would you describe your relationship to Mary Lambert's Pet Cemetery 1989 and the rest of King's work? So uh, she said that was the first book, the Stephen King book that she read. I was about 9 years old. So she read it a long time ago. Looks like she had a love hate relationship with it or something. Uh, but in doing this, she says, I think I reread the book maybe 20 times while writing the script and just looking for little phrases and threads, nuances to what made it unique, right? So reflecting upon the movie, do I see that in there? Not really. Um, Let me just put up the Bloodlines trailer here. I was harsh on it. I really was. Um, the acting was not the weakest part about it, though. It was a little bit mixed acting, actually. This guy did good. Um, it was just muddled. It was kind of like it felt like it didn't decide what it was trying to do, kind of thing. It didn't know. And the way that she was talking in her article seems like she had an idea of where she wanted to go, and maybe studio didn't let her put that vision up. I just the editing. This is a good example of where editing can really hurt a movie. Yeah, she goes on to talk about Tarantino and bringing in Pam Grier, which I thought was kind of a wasted opportunity. She didn't really do too much. She does something significant, but it's kind of like, uh, yeah, it felt like an opportunity lost. It did. So that was her first go around as a director. She's much more of a writer by the sounds of it. So she wants to get uh, a project of Sleepy Hollow off the ground next. I don't know. I'm glad that this movie stayed on streaming. This is a movie that you didn't need to go out to the theater to see. You can pay attention to my full review up on the channel now. But I was curious to see some insights of what the approach was going to be, and did it turn out exactly the way that she wanted it to be? I don't know. Uh, but Cemetery Bloodlines. If you for some reason you find yourself um, subscribed to Paramount Plus and you got like nothing else better to do, and you just got to blow some time, and you've watched everything else, check it out. Let's move on. Uh, do we have to move? Do we have to talk about this? How the way it changed from the original book? The Ludlows, founders of the. Oh, that's a bit of a spoiler. Not really, though. I talked about that in my movie review. The dead need to be shot in one eye. Eh, no one knew Timmy was dead before he reappeared. Yeah, that and it seemed like the Timmy storyline that should have been front and center. It took a while to get to the Timmy storyline. Male woman Marjorie is part of the founder's legacy. Yeah. Timmy returns from the war in Vietnam instead of World War II. Well, that has to do with the time period. Judd is faithful and adoring of Norma. That part worked. Just wasn't Timmy who terrorized Ludlow. Yeah, these two. She did a good job. He was a little bit meh. His acting was meh. Judd is cursed to stay in Ludlow, and that should have been the hook of it. When he, of like, yeah, he was trying to get out of the town in the beginning, and he does try to take a couple of attempts actually to try to get out of the town, but that should have been kind of like, oh, that's what this is about, kind of thing, not kind of like, oh, and by the way, you're stuck in this town forever. uh, 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 anyway, yeah, Fantastic Four. It, um, there's been a lot of stories that's been coming out about this, that the Fantastic Four cast has already been cast. That's been like 2 or 3 days now that news has been out. Uh, they plan to start shooting it next spring, guys. So, assuming that everything uh, gets resolved with the writer strike, if they've got everybody cast, then they should be able to start shooting it and be reasonably accurate to when they wanted to have it released in 2025. Um, my issue is this. From what I've been hearing, the main character is going to be Sue Storm. Yeah, and it's going to try to maybe shoehorn in some kind of social commentary as to why she's the main character. I think they're all the main characters. It's the Fantastic Four. There's four of them. So I expect somewhat equal story time to each of them. At least that's something that the 90s versions did, right? You got to learn about Johnny and you got to learn about Michael Chiklis's character there, the Thing. You know, you got to see background stories for all of them. And I tell you this, who's the guy that's directing this? Shackler, or whatever his name is. Shackbar? Shackman. Yeah, they're Shackman. Yeah, he revealed that it's expected for 2024, most likely the spring in Pinewood Studios. Uh, unlike any, and yeah, it's going to be unlike anything you've seen before, and unlike anything at Marvel that you've seen before. It's like, let me guess, it's going to be funny. It's going to be quirky, and it's going to be like, I was like, again, Shackman, when you make statements like that, you're saying to me that you haven't watched anything else in the MCU. Uh, Delivering something that people haven't seen before is not, I think, should be a mandate for what Fantastic Four should be about. The mandate for Fantastic Four should be more about establishing who they are and what their place is in the MCU. That's what the mandate should be, not delivering something that. But James, you say over time and time again that each theatrical movie, should deliver things that you haven't seen before. Yeah, but I mean visually, uh, as well as a storyline hook. But Marvel and Fantastic Four is already something that's well established, both in comic books and in movie lore. So it's kind of like, how much new things can you possibly show with us? And that's sort of what happened with Josh Trank's version, is that he was going to try to show us something new, and the studio said, no, we want it to be a little bit more of a straightforward thing. So I hope it's a dangerous thing when you're dealing with a pre-established property that maybe we'll run into when we do our writing exercise of Exorcist later on today. Yeah, this evening we'll do that. We'll be doing that. We're going to rewrite what I thought the Exorcist prequel should have been. But That's pretty much all I know from this. I just wanted to reiterate it today because it just seems to be going an ongoing thing. Kind of everybody wants to talk about who's the potential cast. Right now, I really don't care about the cast. Like, will it make me excited if Matt Smith is Mr. Fantastic? Would it make me excited if Adam Driver is Mr. Fantastic? I just want to know how they fit into the universe. That's what I want to know. Yeah. Jack Quaid is being cast as Johnny Storm. Maybe Margot Robbie or Vanessa Kirby for Sue Storm. I don't think it's going to be Margot Robbie. Vanessa Kirby would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Uh, Fantastic Four. Yeah. Let's move on. MCU Skrulls. This one caught my eye because we did watch Secret Invasion. Marvel's original plan for the Skrulls was repeatedly upset by legal problems. Before Phase 3 and 4 or 5 delved deeper into the Skrulls, Marvel had another plan for the aliens that was consistently ruined by legal issues. Okay. So this happened before they had the rights for it? I guess it was supposed to show up during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something. Okay, so that's Marvel had several failed plans to incorporate the Skrulls due to legal issues, including the potential roles of villains in the Avengers and the inclusions of Super Skrulls. Well, I think we'll get Super Skrulls in Secret Invasion or Secret Wars. Sorry, Secret Wars, because Secret Invasion established that they are going to have Super Skrulls with the powers, right? That's what the bad guy in Secret Invasion was after, a machine that would give them the powers of like. And we saw that with Amelia Clark's Gaia character. She inherited all the superpowers. It was kind of like, they got to retcon that somehow. Just say that when you go into that machine, it just wasn't quite refined yet, and say that, yeah, she had all those powers for a short time, but they started to wane a little bit. That's all you had to do, is just to retcon that, so that she doesn't become the most powerful entity in the universe forever, kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. I had fun with Secret Invasion, but I enjoyed it a lot more from the acting from Sam Jackson. Not so much with the story. Next, Guillermo del Toro, Star Wars. Yeah, this is a big story over the weekend as well. So, uh, Guillermo del Toro confirms himself now he was working on a scrapped Star Wars movie about Jabba the Hutt. We learned about this from the producer, right, over the weekend. Now he's finally come out and said it too, so that's cool. Uh, he was working on it with David S. Goyer. We designed a great world. We designed great stuff, and we learned. Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite directors right now, and he all around seems like he's a true mensch, good person, right? So he confirmed, yes, it could have happened. The filmmaker confirmed during a Q&A with Collider that he was working on a Star Wars movie that would center on the notorious Jabba the Hutt. Um, so there was a lot of stuff going behind the scenes at Lucasfilm at the time, Goyer said, but it's a cool script. In response to Toro tweeted, true, can't say much, maybe 2 letters, J and BB, is that 3 letters? Jabba the Hutt? Yeah. So um, Del Toro has now confirmed that the project did in fact revolve around Jabba. We had the rise and fall of Jabba the Hutt, so I was so happy, he said during the recent Collider event. We were doing a lot of stuff, and then it's not my property. It's not my money, and then it's one of those 30 screenplays that goes away. Sometimes I'm bitter, sometimes I'm not. I always turn to my team and say, good practice, guys, good practice. We designed a great world. We designed great stuff. We learned. And that's what I mean about Del Toro being a true mensch. Like he saw that he was allowed to play in that playground and develop a script and ideas. Imagine what he would have done with Jabba the Hutt. I think that could have worked uh, about the rise and fall, about how he just got so his hubris led to his demise. Like You're dealing with a potential Jedi coming in, Luke Skywalker, and because of that big headedness, you got on a big sail barge and let him blow stuff up. It was like, yeah. And it would have been cool to see the rise of him to power, because that empire, his empire of like uh, his crime syndicate, um, is fairly significant in the Star Wars universe. The Hutts, like we heard about it even back in the prequels, talking about the Hutts controlling everything on the outer rims and stuff like that. Um, there could have been a lot of stuff in there that could have been very interesting. And no, it's not shrinking the universe talking about Jabba the Hutt. Like I hate people that's like nails on the blackboard when somebody says that. Uh, it's ooh, but it's about Jabba, so you're shrinking the universe. It's like you're not. You're not. Get like that's nonsense talk. That just makes me so angry. And it would have been in the hands of a really awesome director. Like imagine what he could have done. A Del Toro Star Wars movie. Sign me up. I would pay $100 to go see a Del Toro Star Wars movie. That's something that theaters just aren't understanding, and movie makers not understanding. They think that okay, uh, look at what's happening with the Taylor Swift movie this weekend. Um, that is something that you had to pay extra money for because Taylor Swift said that she got to um, set the price for her movie. She got to say that, oh, I want to charge people $19.89 because that's significant to her, right? For the movie price. Right now, if I could pre-order my ticket for a Del Toro Star Wars movie, I would, and I would say, I have $100 of mine right now. I'll be front and center. Uh, there's got to be a way that studios can figure out a way to have movies instead of being. There's a concept in business called push or pull, right? You're either pushing stuff out to the audience, to customers, or you're pulling. And pulling means that you get orders first, and like the customer has desired something, and then you make it. So they pulled your product out. Where movies tend to be pushed because they make it and then they push it out to the audience. They try to market it to people, right? They push it out to market. You see the difference there? But if there's a way that you could pull it out, then do that. But anyway, I'm going off in a tangent here. I would have loved to have seen this. I would have been like, take my money. And I would have paid. I would have paid top dollar for it. It would be like going to a concert of like going to a Taylor Swift concert, going to a Coldplay concert, going to a Metallica concert. Yes, you would pay extra for it. That's because that's what you want to see. I want to see a Del Toro Star Wars movie, so I'll pay more for it. I'll pay more than my $12.50 for it. There's something there that needs to be reconciled, that studios need to understand. Um, I just don't know if we're there yet. But that's what could have been. And as I said, and what this article says, that Del Toro took it. He said it was good practice working with the scripts, designing that world with his team. We designed a great world. We designed great stuff. We learned. We learned from that experience. You can never be ungrateful with life, he said. Whatever life sends you, there's something to be learned. So, I trust the universe. I do. Me too. He's talking about like that bigger, higher power kind of thing, right? When something doesn't happen, I go, why? I tried to have a dialogue with myself. Why didn't it happen? And then you swim upstream with the universe, the less you're going to realize where you're going. The less you're going to realize where you're going. You try to aim towards something, but yeah. He goes on to talk about what happened with his Pacific Rim sequel that never got off the ground, and did he ever watch the sequel? He said no. He didn't watch Pacific Rim Uprising because it felt like it was directed by his ex-wife or something. It would have felt like he was watching it from his like ex-wife or something. It was like that's an interesting analogy there. But yeah, he wanted a bigger budget for Pacific Rim. We know that story. He wanted to go bigger and bolder. And who did he say he wanted it to be in it. That caught my eye too. Um, he wanted a big actor in it. Did I pull that story as well? Yeah, he wanted Donnie Yen in Pacific Rim 2. That would have been cool. I would have seen that. uh, Nothing against John Boyega, but man, he was so flat in that movie and was so boring. Pacific Rim 2 is just, that's a rinse and repeat formula that didn't work, man. And it failed to land. It did. So that's why he never did Pacific Rim Rising. Um, and one final one that we did talk about on the weekend. Del Toro is going to begin to filming his Frankenstein movie next year, and he added Christoph Waltz to the cast. So that makes me feel like, and I think Andrew Garfield is going to be the monster, and I think Oscar Isaac must be Dr. Frankenstein. And I guess Christoph Waltz is going to be just another uh, person in there. I hope Mia Goth becomes the bride of Frankenstein. You imagine what she could do with that. Um, I'm doing Frankenstein. We're working on it. We shoot in February, and it's going to be a movie I've been wanting to do for 50 years since I saw the first Frankenstein. I had an epiphany, and it's basically a movie that required a lot of growth and a lot of tools so that I couldn't have done it 10 years ago. Now I'm brave or crazy enough um, or something. Whoops. It's Oscar Isaac, Andrew Garfield, Christoph Waltz, Mia Goth, and we're working on it. Again, just because he brings a different vision to the table, and that's what I mean by talking about bringing something different to the screen, is that he's always working at crafting what it's going to look like and feel like. And people may not always like his films, like Crimson Peak. I need to go back and revisit because I remember I was a little bit harsh on it. But even the ones that are kind of like meh, it's still visually looking. It looks stunning, right? And Del Toro, Frankenstein. Looking forward to it, man. He's always been fascinated by it. And people don't realize this, but like The Shape of Water was his version of Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now he's doing Frankenstein. I can't wait to see what if he gets his hands on a Dracula, because he could tell that he was born from like those 30s movies with like Lon Chaney and stuff, and uh, Boris Karloff, right? Like he's very inspired by all that stuff, and that's cool. And he knows his stuff. He goes back and does his research. He's got. It sounds by everything accounts here. He's got a great creative team of writers coming up with ideas. So it's just not him. Um, he's the marshal. He directs things, but he steers things in the right direction. But it's kind of like he's got a team behind him that helps develop these things. Um, we designed a great world, yeah, and I would have loved to have seen that Star Wars. But anyway, enough about Del Toro. What do you guys think about that? Uh, really cool headlines, right? Gladiator 2 is one of my films that I'm really anticipating. Ridley Scott teases Denzel Washington's rich guy with a grudge role. Okay, so is uh, Denzel going to be the bad guy? It sounds like it. Well, we know that he can play a bad guy really well, so that's cool. A rich guy who's still carrying a grudge. Yes, Gladiator 2 is going to have follow the older version of Lucius, right? Played by Paul Mescal. So Scott reveals Washington's character in Gladiator 2 as a rich man with a simmering grudge against his oppressors, promising a compelling narrative that explores his backstory and capture. Oh, maybe he's not the bad guy then. Against his oppressors, promising a compelling narrative that explores his backstory. So is he actually going to be a combatant in the gladiator arenas? Well, we know that Denzel can still do it if you've watched this year's Equalizer 3. He can still do the action. Russell Crowe expresses nostalgia. Yeah. as for Denzel's character, there's businesses of gladiators who indeed earned their freedom if they stayed alive. That was the deal. So we went right into that in depth. Where did he come from? How was he taken? He was branded with marks and registered with a brand on his chest as a slave. So that's how he comes into the story. He's a rich guy who's still carrying a grudge. Oh, okay, so he's a survivor of being a gladiator once and coming into, I guess, notoriety and wealth afterwards. Well, that's a really interesting take on it. That's cool, man. That's cool. And you know Denzel's going to bring it. He's working with Ridley Scott again, so that's thumbs up in my book. Yeah, Paul Mescal, Academy Award nominated Paul Mescal, with Academy Award winner Denzel Washington. That's cool. All right, so there's a little bit more light shed on the Gladiator 2 project. So, guys, if you don't know, we did do a full live playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 on Twitch, and this article did catch my eye. It did. Casting a live action Final Fantasy VII movie, 18 actors who would be perfect. It would be hard to do. I think it's hard to do because of the way that Cloud looks. Could you do the spiky hair realistically? Barrett would be hard to do because Barrett's such a big guy. And if you don't cast Aerith or Tifa properly, people will be upset. Fan casting. So let's just take a look at some of their fan casting ideas. For example, Cody Christensen, Brianna Wright, Tifa Lockhart. Okay, so let's take a look. Cody Christensen as Cloud Strife. He was in Teen Wolf Pretty Little Liars. Again, I'm not really all that concerned with Cloud's face. It's just his visage of the hair. I know it's like the spiky hair is going to be hard to pull off in live action. Brianna White as Aerith. I don't know. No, that one doesn't look. No, that one's a no. And I don't care if they voice the person in the game or not. Natasha Leo Bordeaux as Tifa. No, Tifa. I was worried about Tifa in the game too, because when they were developing Final Fantasy VII, Tifa has some two big attributes about her that if you don't get right, fans will be upset. And that's her costume and her brown hair. You saw what I did there, right? And they got that right. So an actress has to have those two big attributes. Because as fans, we won't stand for anything less. Cody Fern as Sephiroth. Actually, Tyler Hoechlin did a good job of voicing him. And what sucks is that I don't think Tyler Hoechlin is continuing over to voice Sephiroth in part 2. So who is this guy? Cody Fern is a versatile actor and has done a lot of TV work. Now that's the thing too. Guys, if you cast a bunch of TV actors to play a live action role, it's not going to fly. There's such a big difference between acting for the screen than acting for like TV stuff, like for big theatrical movies. There's such a vast difference that if you can't do it, you can't bring that weight, it's going to be easily recognizable. What movie just fell prey to this? Was one that I just saw that it was like this felt like it was made for TV. Yeah, we just watched that. The Wishmaster from 1997 had a bunch of B movie actors, and it felt very TV like because they did hire a main actress from TV to do the Wishmaster, and the acting was flat. It didn't go beyond that substance, because maybe it's because in the TV realm you don't have a whole lot of time with the script to develop characters and stuff. But when you hear things like Idris Elba saying that he's a workaholic, it's because he gets the script. He works with the scene. He talks. He works through how I'm going to deliver this line. And he says the line over and over and over again, so that when he's on the set, it's just it's flawless, right? Um, there's a different approach to it. Winston Duke is Barrett, Black Panther. Oh yeah, he's the big guy in Black Panther, right? That's possible. I could see that maybe because he's definitely big enough. Uh, Red 13 is going to be a CG thing, so yeah, you could just keep the same voice. And he did have a good voice. The voice acting was good. And wait till you see Red 13 riding chocobos in part 2. I've seen people's reactions to it, and it's like you see this cat on top of a big chocobo, and it's like it's going to be fun, a lot of fun. Lakeith Stanfield is Vincent Valentine. No, no. Vincent Valentine is also going to be one. If you don't get the casting right, he's a fan favorite. It's kind of like, well, you can't cast a white person, a Caucasian, to play Black Panther. You can't. And uh, I hate to say it, but you can't. You can't do that for Vincent Valentine. You can't. You can't. No, people won't stand for it. You would be hammering a nail into the coffin of the project as soon as you announced it. And what I hear is that he's not going to be a playable character in the second part, which sucks because Vincent Valentine is a huge fan favorite. They've developed games like Dirge of Cerberus after the character because he's such a fan favorite. That's why doing it live action would be so hard to do. Coleman Domingo is Sid Highwind. Now that's the character. And this is cool. This is interesting because we're seeing a diversity here. Yes, Vincent Valentine is a fan favorite. That one you can't race swap. Sid Highwind is not necessarily a fan favorite. He's a cool character. But if they did a swap on that one, I could see that one being a little bit more well received. But I always thought that Sid Highwind should have been Matthew McConaughey or Woody Harrelson. David Tennant is the voice of Kayet Sith or Sayed Sith. I'm waiting to see how they pronounce it. Yeah, and we're going to see him in the second part. That's cool. He's the cat that rides that big Moogle, right? Mog. Karen Fukuwara as Yuffie. Yeah, that's fine. Whoever you want, have at it. Will Sharp as Reno. They did the Turks right too. They got the Turks right. Ricky Whittle as Rude. Yeah, that looks like could possibly fit. Elena, we didn't get to see Elena in the first one really, right? We just got to hear her brought in at the end by Sung. I don't care about that one. She looks a little too old to play her. That one looks right. That one, Masanobu Ando is Sung. Yeah, that one looks interesting. Tyler Hecklin is going to be playing Zack. He's a bit too old for Zack. Because remember, Zack is connected to Aerith. They were like they didn't really shine a big light on it in the first game. She says it. You're wearing the same armor as somebody I used to know. It's because Cloud is wearing Zack's armor. He's a bit too old for Aerith. Because then you would have to cast Aerith around that age. And Aerith is supposed to be around Cloud's age. But it would have been nice. It would have been an interesting thing. Mark Hamill is President Shinra. Yeah, that one I don't really care about. But yeah, that would be fun. Hayden Christensen as Rufus. Yeah. Now that's cool. That's a cool casting. I was a little bit let down by that. I thought there was more backstory on the political side of things. Like Rufus was, he was waiting for his old man to make a mistake so that he could gain power, and that felt a little bit shoehorned in there at the end of the first game. And Keanu Reeves, yeah, no, Keanu Reeves is Professor Hojo. You know, Hojo is disgusting too. Uh, you know who would be a good Hojo? It might be redundant. Is Willem Dafoe, and I say that might be redundant because he's playing a character that looks like very much like him in in Poor Things. That's coming out this December. Um, like a Dr. Frankenstein, somebody who cuts things and puts them back together, kind of thing. That's what Hojo is, because he's Hojo is responsible for Vincent Valentine, right? He like he was one of his experiments. Um, that's who I would have as my Hojo. What do you guys think about that? Uh, Fan castings for a Final Fantasy VII movie. Let me know in the comments below, and we will talk about it. What's next? Daryl Dixon, Walking Dead. Uh, it's already at its finale. Season finale revealed. I didn't even know that this was going on. Nobody's been like. Usually, when The Walking Dead was going on, just in my Twitterverse and other spheres, I would catch wind of it, like from AMC. I haven't heard anybody talking about Daryl Dixon, and it sucks because I do like the character. But it was as soon as I heard that they cut uh, Carol out of it, I was like, no, I don't know if I want to watch it. Um, but apparently, cameo wise, I should maybe check it out. I don't know. Um, it's just getting too convoluted with all the spin-offs, and I don't know where things fit in anymore. Uh, yeah, teasing a return by Carol. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's anything that everybody. Um, I got nothing against Norman Reedus. He made that character, so it's kind of like, yeah. Oops. Argyle says my pick would be Hiroki Sanada from Mortal Kombat as JoJo. As Hojo, that could work too. Let me pull that up. Him as Hojo, yeah, that would be kind of interesting. So some hit or miss. We saw that uh, Transformers: Rise of the Beast is going to have a 4K release soon with 1 hour of special features. Wow, this movie came and went, didn't it? This was supposed to be one of the biggest blockbusters of the year. Even afterwards, nobody's talking about it. It's because if, this is because it was a big blockbuster. It was part of that machine, like what she said there in the Pet Cemetery. Lindsay Anderson Beer talked about in the Pet Cemetery headlines. Transformers was made by committee. Yeah, Stephen Caple Jr. was directing it, but it was like you got to take notes from everybody, and it was kind of like they've got they were stepping in the right direction with going with Bumblebee, and the one with Haley Steinfeld. And then it looks like they took a step back with Rise of the Beasts. I had fun with Rise of the Beasts. I did. I think it's the second best Transformers movie. But it does have its flaws. And the flaws come in with the human characters get shoehorned in. That whole sequence at the museum was just like, oh, guys, just stick with the robots, man. And you can now with the CG. There's still that executive mentality. If you make it all about the robots, then there's going to be nothing there for people to emotionally relate to. And it's like, it's the story. It's what's happening to the characters that's relatable to the Transformers. It's the fight against good versus evil. Yeah. And they just haven't been. That's a rewrite that I would love to do. So maybe I'm going to create a poll. I'm going to write down here. Okay, so we're going to do an Exorcist prequel reboot for our writing session today. But next Monday, I'm going to put the Transformers as one of the options. And then leave me a suggestion in the comments section if you're watching this. For what else should we rewrite? I'll put Transformers up there for next Monday. And then I'll maybe leave like a blank space for an option for people to say, this is what we're rewriting for next. Because it just needs to be done. Here's how you do the Transformers. For God's sake. It's not rocket science. Transformers is finally using a key Autobot Michael Bay's franchise never included. I never heard of this robot. Alita 1. She was in Generation 1. I know that. She must have come in later. But Transformers 1 is going to be voiced, this Alita 1 is going to be voiced by Scarlett Johansson. See, now that's an interesting story. That was previously known as Ariel and was rebuilt as Alpha Trion alongside Optimus Prime after being severely damaged in Megatron's attacks. Michael Bay's Transformers movie did not include Alita 1 due to the need to appeal to the mainstream audience and the complexity of adding her to existing storyline. So from what I understand, she was kind of like, I don't know if she was Prime's partner or right hand in, yeah. But we need Ultra Magnus. Where's Ultra Magnus? RC and Spinner. We need those characters in here. And for God's sakes, do the Dinobots right. That's what I would do in my in my reboot. We would do the Dinobots right, and you would get the marketing for that right, because one of the first things that you would hear in my teaser, aside from hearing Megatron, you would probably end with hearing me Grimlock, me King. That's what you would hear. Yeah, that would get people excited, I think. What's this? Michael Chiarello, celebrity chef and former Food Network star, dies at 61. Oh, I remember this guy. He was on Top Chef and stuff sometimes, wasn't he? This headline caught my eye because I just had to figure out who he was. I had to put a face to the name. 61 is too young. And from what I read here in the article, it's from an allergic reaction where he was being treated for an acute allergic reaction that led to anaphylactic shock. That sucks. And being a cook or a chef, you would think that you would have sampled enough stuff out there, ingested enough stuff that you would know what you would be reacting to. But hey, it could have been something that was mixed in an ingredient, like maybe he was allergic to honey or something, and it was mixed in as a sweetening agent to some dish that he wasn't aware of. I don't know. But that's tragic, man. That's tragic. Top Chef. Yeah, Top Chef Masters. Rest in peace. That's not the way to go, man. That's not the way to go. All right. I think that's all. Guys, we're running 15 minutes overtime, but we had lots of fun here today, right? Aside from that bummer story there, let's go over to the Twitterverse and see if there's anything else that has dropped. In case I missed it, okay. New motion poster for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I think I was like one of the only few people out there that actually enjoyed that teaser. And I think we will do watch-alongs for this. But expect a very much same reaction that people have had to Ahsoka, where they said it's bad writing, it's terrible, it's not paying homage to the characters properly. It's like, expect that for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. But we'll tackle that when it comes out. I've got high hopes for it because Scoble there, the actor, main actor, I think he's got a gift, and I think he's going to have a bright career ahead of him. First trailer for season of The Crown. Final season of The Crown will be split into 2 parts. Okay. Is that Diana? Maria, starring Angelina Jolie, has begun filming. First look at Angelina Jolie and the iconic opera singer Maria Callas. Totally Killer is now streaming on Prime Video. Yeah, I was going to watch that last night, guys, and I just didn't get around to it. I got just hung up with family duties, so it's kind of like, I'll try to watch it today. And if I do watch it today, it'll be this afternoon. And if I do watch it this afternoon, then I'll turn on the camera and share it with you guys. I don't think I'd have to worry about any kind of nudity, I don't think. Let me look at the parents' guide here. There is no nudity at all. Okay, good. A male character grabs his groin. Scratch! After a few times while close. So somebody raspberries, basically. But I hear good things about Totally Killer. I do. So I want to make sure that we get that. Get Connor. Oh, Del Toro, 59th birthday. We just talked about you a lot. Happy birthday, Guillermo del Toro, 59, huh? That's Nightmare Alley, right? I like Nightmare Alley visually. It's just a dark story. It's like you're following a complete miscreant, bad guy. And he gets his comeuppance in the end, but it just takes a little while for it to get there. Maybe I need to revisit that film, Nightmare Alley. Yeah, Del Toro. Great director. New posters for Fall of the House of Usher. That comes out this Thursday, guys. She's a great actress. See, if you were to make a live action Asajj Ventress, cast her. She would nail it. From Star Wars? Yeah. Okay, more happy birthdays go out to people I don't know. So there you go. 3 years ago today, Blind Manor came out. 3 years ago. Wow. That was before I knew how to do all the reactions and stuff. And I did it in such a way where I would watch 5 minutes of it, and then you would be kind of like, I'd play my guitar in between every 5 minutes or so. I had fun doing that, and that series still gets me choked up when I think about it, because it was just so well acted, so well crafted. It's not as good as Hill House, but it's second best, I think, from Flanagan for me. I know a lot of people like Midnight Mass. The Boogeyman is now out on Hulu. Well, you guys know how I felt about that one. Haunting in Venice has surpassed 100 million at the box office. Oh, we didn't pay attention to that. How much was the budget for Haunting in Venice? Okay, Haunting in Venice was 60 million. And it's in the 6th spot. So it is profitable. Haunting in Venice is profitable. Maybe. It's got to go another 18 million to double its budget, but it'll get there, I think. I had fun with Haunting in Venice. I thought it was a very decent. Actually, I think it was even better than Murder on the Orient Express. I think it goes. Actually, no. Death on the Nile is my favorite one. Then Haunting in Venice, and then uh, out of his versions of films, Murder on the Orient Express. I think it's weaker. It's not it's not aging well. Maybe I need to revisit that one too. Francis Ford Coppola calls Martin Scorsese the world's greatest living filmmaker. So a little bit of praise to each, from one genius to another. I know a lot of people hold Scorsese as one of the best filmmakers of all time, but he's had his misses. And I know that a lot of people think that Goodfellas is his best film, but for me, it's Shutter Island. Yeah, he's definitely talented. But you know what? I would watch a Del Toro film from either one of the, over anything from these guys. But we all got our tastes. I'm looking forward to Megalopolis from Francis Ford Coppola. His last big outing as a big blockbuster from Francis Ford Coppola. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to Killers of the Flower Moon next couple of weeks here from Scorsese. Ridley Scott is working on a 4-hour director's cut of Napoleon to be released on the streaming service. Guys, this is not this is not uh, Lord of the Rings, man. The danger with the 4-hour cut is that it gets bogged down in boring stuff that needed to be cut from the original cut. I don't know. It's not Shakespeare. It's not like Hamlet, where you cut certain acts out of the play because you wanted to make something in more suitable for a theatrical release. I don't know. And then the 4-hour cut of Hamlet is there because you got all the acts and you got all the scenes put back in. Yeah, I don't know. Greta Gerwig teases she's already working on her next project. It's hard and I'm having reoccurring nightmares. What, is it not Barbie 2? You know the studio has greenlit Barbie 2. It's coming. And hopefully they get Taylor Swift involved somehow, because that'll just make $2 billion then, right? Why not? Killers of the Flower Moon is a crucial as the character is the heart of the film, talking about Lily Gladstone. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Oh yeah, we talked about Saoirse Ronan yesterday. We need to see a lot more of her. Great actress. In this faux movie that is not being very well received. I still want to check it out, mostly because of Saoirse. Great actress. All right, guys. I think that's it for me today. I've yet to watch Totally Killer, so maybe if you're on Twitch, I'll sync copy. Maybe we should just watch it on Twitch. That way, if something happens, it doesn't have to be a full. Yeah, we'll watch it on Twitch if we do. Yeah. All right, guys. Anyway, I've been running really late. I got to get breakfast and I got to get out to try to get in a walk today because I didn't yesterday because it was raining outside and then I had to cook for most of the afternoon. So enjoy your Thanksgiving Day if you are doing it today, guys. Enjoy some turkey and have some cranberries and stuffing for me, please. I'll see you next time tomorrow for more movie news here on Mirror Domains.